Anything else that you feel like organizations can do? I mean, we talked about flexibility, we talked about role modeling. What else would you like to see organizations do? Maybe there's something creative. Anything from our other panelists? Hi, Cassie.
Normalize setting expectations. That's a
All
thing that a
right.
lot of people are afraid to do, especially women in a professional setting, because we feel like we should just be able to do it all the time. No, nope, that's unreasonable. You need to learn to set expectations with your home, with your leaders, with your staff, with everybody in your life. As soon as you realize that something might not happen the way you think it is, exclaim that to the person to whom is impacted. Because by showing up and being vulnerable and saying, hey, there's something we may need to mitigate here, you are building credibility with the people that you interact with. And you also, those expectations, like it's kind of a reminder for you, and you've like, nope, I've set this expectation with them. I don't need to go beyond that. I'm fulfilling my promise.
Excellent. Yeah, setting expectations is a great one. And also, I like what you said about setting the expectation that not everything will always go perfectly and seamless, because that's just not the world we live in.
Do you hold, and this is a question that I ask everybody who's suffering with like self-worth, imposter syndrome, whatever. Do you hold anybody in your life to 100% perfection rate for anything?
No, we
No.
do not.
Then why would you do that to yourself? Why do you have that expectation for yourself? That's
Yep,
just
we are
exhausting.
we are our own harshest critics, after all. So that's a great reminder, Cassie. Now, another thing that I wanted to ask all of you is, how do you advocate for yourself at work? Do you talk about, or do you have conversations about your kids? Do you participate in an ERG? Do you advocate for other working parents? Or what do you do at work around your identity as a working parent?
I'm neurodivergent. I have ADHD and I'm being evaluated for autism. So I have to do a lot of advocating for myself from that realm, and a lot of advocating because my kids are also neurodivergent. So I have to do a lot of advocating for them from that realm. And it's a lot of, like, again, setting expectations with my boss. Like the second I suspect I'm coming up on burnout, I set that expectation with her. And I'm like, look, I need to take a day off sometime in the next 10 days. And, I just have that set up with her.
Thanks, Cassie.
And I would add to that, Nikki, that we have to be vulnerable and in order to be victorious in what we're looking for, right? A lot of times when we say vulnerability, we think that that means, you're going to get a chink in your armor, or, you'll get a demotion or something. But when it comes to your personal life, what I've encouraged my team, and as I said, I don't have to know the nitty gritty details, but if there's something that is going on in your world, you do have to hopefully, and I do believe that I am this way, but I encourage other leaders, even in the work, that Kunik and other companies and stuff do, is make sure you have leaders that are willing to listen first, because you'll be really surprised before you make a decision, or you have a preconceived notion about a particular associate or an employee, and you don't really know what's going on with them. Perfect example is the one that I just told you all. So if this particular nurse, Katie, what happens if she called out back to back? The media, she's going to risk getting written up. But the fact that she told me, hey, this is happening, I'm like, hey, whatever you need, let me know. We'll just take you off the schedule. But she has to, rather me, the leader, I have to have a position where my staff feels comfortable sharing things with me. I had another associate who's a single mother, and her child's father, literally, no exaggeration, this happened a year before the pandemic. She got a phone call from her neighbor because her 7-year-old got off the bus and her child's father was supposed to be there and never showed up. And so the kid is like standing outside knocking on a door. And we all know that story could have gone left very, very quickly, not only with the safety of the child, but also her as a mother, because we all know social services could have got involved. Luckily, it was her neighbor who was there who called. So she called me at work. I mean, she was at work, and it was like the middle of the day. And she said, Media, I have to leave, and something's wrong with my kid. And she just left. But I wasn't, because I'm a mother, I understood that took precedence for her in her life. And then when she got home, home, she told me the story, like, and I was not obviously, but her relationship with her child's father was a little rocky, and just shared that he just decided that he wasn't going to show up. I'm like, well, what do you need from me? That was the first thing I said. How can I help you in this situation? How is the schedule? Do you have daycare next week? Or the next day, or whatever it is? Is someone able to pick up your kid? And so what I did for her, and if you guys know nursing, the bewitching hours between 6:30 and 7, when we tend to have change of shift, it's very early in the morning. None of our kids are in school at 7 o'clock in the morning. So guess what I did? I made an executive decision. I work at a very large medical center, 900 bed hospital, over 2,000 nurses. And I was like, you know what? I'm the leader. And my CNO, chief nurse officer, said, you run your unit as if it's your own company. And so guess what I did? I told her, you know what, for the next month, if you need to come in at 8:30, so that gives you time to get your kid together, drop him off at grandma's house, and let's do that. And I told the rest of her team, because you know what's going to happen, right? Oh, well, you're showing favorites. I'm like, no. And I said, I had a meeting and I made it very clear. Again, I'm just using Liz because I know her. Hey, listen, Liz is going to be coming into work the next month at 8:30 instead of 7. So we need to make this, because I'm helping her with the home situation. If you have any questions about that home situation, you can speak to Liz, because legally I can't share that. And my hospital is unionized, by the way. So, when you start doing favoritism, people start, and I'm like, I don't care about that. I care about the person. So as a leader, I care about the person. Yes, there's rules and policies and procedures that we should abide by HR, to make sure that we're fair and ethical. And in my opinion, I am being fair and ethical, because why would I want to lose Liz as my employee, all because she needs to come to work an hour late for a short period of time and I can help her? Why would I do that? And so I think, so twofold. One, the employee has to be vulnerable enough to hopefully have a good working relationship with their leader to share some of those challenges. Two, prayerfully and hopefully that leader is amenable to hearing and helping come up with a solution. Again, flexibility. She didn't need this forever. She wasn't asking for a permanent schedule change. She knows I'm responsible to care for patients, but is the world going to shut down because she comes to work an hour late? Of course not. But we have to be able to do that, Nikki.
I love that advice. And I think that vulnerability is really key. You never know if someone is going to say no if you don't ask. So don't make an assumption that the answer is going to be no. Particularly if you have a good relationship, it's always good to show that vulnerability and to build that trust and commitment to the organization. And Cassie, thank you for sharing the TED Talk with Brene Brown. Believe it or not, this is the third time I've heard Brene Brown today. This is what it means to work in the talent development area, but absolutely love that. We just have a few more minutes for, I guess, let's do one more question for all of our panelists. It's been a year, right? It's been a year since the pandemic started. Where do we go from here? What's next when you think about being a working parent in the pandemic? What's next for you? What are you looking forward to doing? And I don't know, Marianne is predicting 9 or 10 months. So let's say that. And what are you seeing for organizations? What might be the change? So you can answer any of those questions. Maybe it's like you want to go on vacation somewhere, or maybe it's like something that you'd like to see that was going to last as a change for organizations going forward. So we'll just go to all of our panelists. I guess we'll start with Brittany.
So I am an extrovert. I love being out and about. So this working from home, but then also, being quarantined has been extremely difficult for me mentally. I'm just really excited to get out and about. I really am. I'm excited to go hiking. I'm excited to have different experiences with both of my kids. I want to go on trips. It's like, I guess the list is kind of endless, but definitely being outside. I live in Colorado. And so outside is where you want to be all the time. And it's definitely where that's where I fill my cup, and I can't wait to keep doing that.
Love that, Brittany. And for everyone else, go ahead and type into the chat. What's one thing that you're hoping to go from here, whether it's personally or organizationally? Let's go to Mary Ann.
I think for me, I hope that some of these things like flexibility stay, and that I hope that working parents feel more comfortable to speak up, and that this becomes a place that we start to feel our moment, and that people understand that we have a value. We just need some different things to come through. More personal level, I'm looking forward to the fall, sort of where we come back into something normal. We'll be able to host hopefully our first kind of live event again. We're looking forward to that as an organization. So that's like really big for us, and to be able to do some things face to face safely again will be really great. And then to get some of that sense of grounding back will be really neat.
I love that, Marianne. So too. It's barely spring, but I'm already feeling like fall is going to be just around the corner. Cassie, what about you?
Honestly, I think I'm looking most forward to one of the things that we've seen in the last year is there's been a bigger focus on mental health. In companies, on teams. I know, like, my team, like, we were pretty pro mental health before this, but like my whole team's in therapy now, like, because we're just like, you got to figure out your stuff, you got to like, let's get to the root of that trauma, let's solve it. And I really hope that organizations and people maintain that they hold that space for being able to be vulnerable and say up and saying, I am not fit to interact with people today, I'm taking PTO. Because there, even outside of the pandemic, there are times that you just can't, and you need to listen to that.
100%. I think that's a really great call out. It's normalizing that we're not supposed to be different people. You know, there's something about being professional, but there's another thing about feeling comfortable to bring your whole self to work and to be able to show people those parts of yourselves. I mean, at this point, everyone has seen the inside of our homes and our lives. So it's a complete shift. I love it. All right, Meaty, what about you?
Something that I wish would stay is our focus on conversations like this, our focus on our family, the importance of being there for our children, our aging parents, community, making sure, our neighbors are okay. And I really appreciated how I think churches and things did a lot of great stuff early on in the pandemic about making sure we're reaching out, the people who are single or elderly, or if you have friends that are at home alone. I think that is so key. So I hope that stays. And then I like again, I just got home, so this is why I'm able to be here. But I think for people like you all that are working in office settings, to have some of the flexibility. However, what I will say is Zoom is great, but it's not the same. Like, I don't care what anybody says, like it's just not the same when you're having the meeting in person. I mean, I see people nodding their head, like, oh yeah, that's great. And it makes me feel good if you think I made a great point. And then you're kind of trying to watch the chat. And quite frankly, but there's a sense of energy. And I think humans are made to be connected. And what I will share to you all, social distancing is great, but social isolation is detrimental to the human being. I think, and again, I say this because Liz knows this, that I was quarantined when I got COVID for 9 days. And very much like you, Brittany, I'm very much so an extrovert, if you guys can't tell. And I literally said to myself and my friends, I was like, I am so against solitary confinement, like seriously, full stop. I'm like, I don't care what the person did, maybe give them 3 days in solitary confinement. And that's pushing it, because I had my cell phone, my computer, I had cable, I'm in a hotel room, I had a nice bed, all of that. And let me tell you guys, if you've been around or by yourself in a room, and I'm not talking about I'm at the beach and I can go and do stuff. No, I'm talking about staying in 4 walls for 9 days was very, very taxing, to your point, Cassie, on my mental health. Like, I was so ready to be outside, not even having the sun on my face, not feeling fresh air. Again, I'm in DC, so even the windows in the hotel sometimes don't open, because you're in the city. And I was on the inside of the hotel, so I didn't even get full sunlight into my room. Social distancing is good. Social isolation is not. So I can't wait to have meetings Some things I think, yeah, we can do things on Zoom and be done and get over with, but I miss the in-person contact. I miss hugging people. I'm a touchy-feely person. I miss giving hugs. I put on lipstick because when I get on Zooms, I don't get to wear lipstick at work anymore because we all have on masks. And so that's what I miss. And my hope and prayer, as I know we're wrapping up, is just that people will continue to, we joke about the pandemic pounds like we did back with our freshman 15 or whatever back in college. But my hope and desire is that people are able to get back out and still be healthy, still take care of yourself. You know, cancers are still happening, right? Kidney disease is still happening. Heart disease is still happening. We have to make sure we're taking care of ourselves. So I don't like that part of us being away, because I think people did like working out and doing things together. And so that's what I hope. And I hope we just appreciate each other and realize at the end of the day, life is short and tomorrow's not promised to any of us. So just live life to your fullest.
Fantastic. All great advice. So I'm just going to hand it back to Jess and Liz to close us out.
Thank you, Nikki. This was wonderful. The panelists, thank you guys so much for sharing. This felt so real, so powerful. I mean, we've got a lot to learn from each other, and it's wonderful to come together and really, really work on that.